Hello, Wolfpack. Welcome back. We're going to do a special video this week. Considering that the new Street Fighter video game is coming out, I thought it'd be special to look back at some of Capcom's greatest characters. Top 5 greatest Capcom villains. Number 5. Dr. Wily from the Mega Man series. Once a brilliant inventor, Dr. Wily and his partner Dr. Light created machines that would change the human evolution as we know it. However, Dr. Light got all the credit for the robots they made, and upset by this, Dr. Wily turned against his former friend and created evil robots that he would use in a scheme so he can, you guessed it, take over the world.
Of course!
Aside from looking like an evil version of Makarov, Dr. Wily is one of the most intelligent Capcom villains out there. He's not exactly combat-oriented, but he does have his incredibly high intellect and is one of Mega Man's most persistent foes. Dr. Wily is one of the most memorable Capcom villains. Although looking like a cartoony design, it's hard to take him seriously compared to the higher-up villains, but Wily is one of the most feared forces not to be mistaken with. Number 4. M. Bison from the Street Fighter series. M. Bison is the Street Fighter series' most recognizable villain, returning once again in the upcoming Street Fighter V title. M. Bison is the dictator who's the head of some weird country that I can't even pronounce, but as long as it sounds foreign, we'll believe it. He's basically an evil dictator that wants to, you guessed it, take over the world.
Of course!
M. Bison is a force not to be reckoned with either, considering that he can actually fight. He's more of a military strategist than an evil genius. However, M. Bison's most powerful move is his Psycho powers, which is considered his ultimate move and one of the most dangerous moves in the entire game. M. Bison is pretty much responsible for the suffering of most of the Street Fighter heroes. Yeah, no matter how much you check, every Street Fighter character is somehow connected to this guy because he wronged them in some way or he's important to their character arc. Although the movies didn't really do M. Bison justice, it's the video games where he's most famous in. M. Bison is one of Capcom's legendary villains, being the only one with a game series that's still continuing, unless you count the other few, but they don't appear as much as M. Bison does. However, M. Bison is only number 4 on this list, as you'd be surprised who made it past him. Number 3. Jeddah from Darkstalkers. An evil demon that was locked away for all eternity finally escapes, only to find out that humanity has taken for granted their lives and is systematically destroying the entire world. Jeddah seeks to cleanse the universe of all its evil by pretty much wiping out all human life and everything else in the universe and kill God to replace him with his own version of God so he can conquer the known universe. Jeddah is one of the scariest Capcom villains out there. He's pretty much based on the Grim Reaper, only drawn more like an anime-esque character. His powers include mutilating himself and using his blood magic against his opponents, disfiguring his body and his opponent in the process. Jeddah is, of course, one of the most dangerous forces out there considering his supernatural powers. Jeddah wants to reap souls, take them, eat them, and then kill God and use the souls to power himself to replace God, because he thinks he's worthy of creating the universe and making a utopia and making life perfect and all that stuff. However, of course, he's obviously crazy and the villain you have to stop. Jeddah is one of Capcom's lesser-known villains, mostly because his game series is pretty much dead. However, he's recognized as one of the most powerful villains because he's pretty much the source of Capcom nightmare fuel. Jeddah does deserve a lot more recognition than we give him granted for it, but that's why we included him as number 3 on our list. Number 2. Virgil from the Devil May Cry series. Virgil is everything the hero Dante isn't. He's cold, vicious, psychotic, manipulative, and pure evil. Virgil seeks to use his half-demon, half-angel powers so he can, you guessed it, take over the world.
Of course!
Virgil is pretty much an evil counterpart to Dante. He has a special katana blade which rivals Dante's own magical blade. Virgil wanted to team up with Dante initially, but it was really manipulating him, and as you know, in our top 10 betrayals, Virgil betrayed him, of course. Virgil is one of Capcom's coolest villains, if not a little underused, but not as much as Jeddah, but he's not as famous as M. Bison, or our number 1 on the list. However, Virgil deserves a lot more recognition than we give him, which is why we made him number 2 on our list. And finally, we reach our number 1, Albert Wesker from the Resident Evil series. Was there really any doubt? Albert Wesker is one of the coolest Capcom villains. However, Capcom made a pretty huge mistake with him. We won't spoil it, but he stopped making appearances after a while, though of course that probably spoiled it for you already. Albert Wesker is, of course, one of Capcom's greatest villains, mostly because he starts out as a normal guy before rising into power. Unlike most of the other villains, Jeddah and Virgil, who are both supernatural beings, and M. Bison and Dr. Wily, who were pretty much born into their wealth and superiority above others. Wesker pretty much worked hard working for Umbrella Corps before betraying his allies and manipulating them. As Chris Redfield says it,
Wesker doesn't give a damn about anybody but himself.
Correct. Wesker is in it for himself and will stop at nothing to get past everyone in his way in his quest to, you guessed it, taking over the world.
Of course!
Noticing a pattern here among Capcom villains, they all want to take over the world. There's a lot more to a villain than just world domination in Capcom. But Wesker is still one of the coolest Capcom villains, mostly because I think he's a composite character of all the ones on this list. Think about it, he's got the intelligence of Dr. Wily, the disfiguring body powers of Jeddah, the charisma, wealth, and fast pace of M. Bison, and he pretty much looks like Virgil, only dressed in all black and with cool shades. Yes, Albert Wesker is one of Capcom's greatest villains. However, I hope Wesker continues to appear among Capcom's future Resident Evil titles. Wesker definitely deserves a lot more recognition than we give him credit for, although I'm pretty sure you're tired and sick of seeing him on our list and probably other people's lists. You have to see Wesker's capabilities in order to appreciate how good of a villain he is. Here are a few honorable mentions that you might have wanted to see on this list, but didn't quite make it in. The Nemesis. Nemesis was from the Resident Evil series, I believe the 3rd game, which is literally titled Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. The Nemesis is one of Resident Evil's strongest villains, and the most persistent stalker of the entire game, continually following Jill Valentine wherever she goes and trying to kill her. Nemesis didn't exactly make it on this list, mostly because Resident Evil 6, although a terrible game, everybody said that the Usanak was better, mostly because he was much stronger than Nemesis and pretty much Nemesis 2.0. And Lord Pyron from the Darkstalkers game. Although, considering that he's based off of Satan, and Satan should be much cooler than the Grim Reaper, we didn't feel like Pyron made it on this list, mostly because of that terrible cartoon where they made him a total wuss. Thank you for watching. We hope you like, comment, and subscribe, and join us for more videos here on Wolf and Friends Gaming. Oh, and do please tell us how Street Fighter V goes if you're still into that game series. Goodbye.
Game